This PPT Presents broadcast is brought to you by TechWitch Detroit. TechWitch Detroit for all your IT needs. Please visit us on the web at techwitchdetroit.com. TechWitch Detroit, we can help.
All of the opinions expressed on this show are those of the host or guest and do not necessarily express the views of Pagan Pathways Temple or its affiliates. Welcome to PPT Presents episode 39. Thank you for listening. Today on PPT Presents we have It Makes You Think with Cynthia Day and Fir. They'll be discussing the history of tarot as well as some of the major arcana. After that, we have the Conversation Corner with the Gladstones. They'll be talking about the differences between New Year's resolutions and a witch's intent. Should be a very good conversation. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the rest of the week, and we hope to have you back with us in the new year.
And now it's time for It Makes You Think by Cynthia Day. Subjects that are sufficiently complicated enough to give one pause, just enough to make you think. Hi, and welcome to Podcast 39, It Makes You Think. This is Cynthia Day, and we are starting our podcast today with the history of the tarot. And we will finish it up today with a little talk about two major arcana, the Fool and the Magician. Say hi, Fir.
Hi, Fir.
Well, we're going to start talking about the history of the tarot. Fir, where would you like to start?
Actually, the tarot comes from Italy. It's weird. I never thought it would be from there, but yeah, it got its start back in the 1400s during the Renaissance period. Yeah. And they were seen as, well, they were commissioned by artists to make, these beautiful pieces of artwork that people, and actually they were used as playing cards to a degree.
How were they used as playing cards if they were just pictures? Did the pictures have anything in common with each other?
At that time, they were more or less, they did have some suits, and the commonalities that we do have today, like they had the king and queen and ace and the different suits, like batons or clubs, the coins, swords, cups. But they were used more like for a game of bridge in ways.
Oh,
they had a similar game to bridge. They were basically used by the royalty, the higher to do people,
the court people,
the common day people, the peasants, I guess, didn't have time or didn't have the money to have such things.
Yeah. This was for the well-to-do.
Yeah, and they did morph into some of the ways that they used them. They did turn into some sort of, it wasn't necessarily divination, but they would use the artwork to tell stories to each other.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't given as much clout as we do now. They didn't really believe in them as much, but they would tell well, this is going to happen to you because this card came up, and well, this is what's going on in your life, and they'd use the pictures to draw from. And
so it was sort of intuitive the way they were reading the cards. But it really sounds like they were reading the cards to, if not predict the future, at least understand the present, which what people do with the tarot cards as well. It's not always looking for the future. Sometimes figuring out the spaghetti that is your life is helpful to use the tarot to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the Portuguese, the Italians, Spanish and Portuguese also created closer to what we consider the regular playing decks today.
Oh, you mean with the clubs and diamonds and
the spades and
yeah. And what's the other one? Puppy toes? I always call it puppy toes. Clubs? I forget what it's called.
Yeah, the clubs were derived from the staves or
the wands.
The wands, yes.
Yeah, they represented fire And then the diamonds were derived from the pentacles, which represented earth. And then the hearts were derived from the cups, which represented water. And the spades were derived from the swords, which represented air.
Yeah, and well, they also had coins for the pentacles too.
Yeah.
That was another version of it, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But they really took off in France during the 1600s. They thought they were intriguing. It was, yet again, the well-to-do, the high class.
They would sit around at tea.
Cultured people.
They'd sit around at tea or whatever, or coffee or whatever, and talk about the cards.
Play with these cards.
Because they had time on their hands, because the peasants didn't. Right.
The peasants didn't. They were too busy
trying to scrape up a living,
watching the rich people's laundry.
Basically, yeah.
And they floated all over Europe. They had different versions in Germany, Austria.
Mm-hmm.
They have all different kinds, and they pretty much stuck to like the basic concepts, especially with the pit cards and the lower. I think the major arcana were more elaborate and stuff, but which eventually the pip cards and the minor arcana gradually turned into regular playing cards.
Yeah, the ones we recognize today as playing cards that people use for poker and whatnot all.
Yeah.
Yeah. They look
really, really similar.
Yeah, and people would clandestinely use the regular playing cards to read tarot. As I know some people still can do that. I would prefer, because I read tarot as well, and I prefer playing with the using the regular tarot cards. I don't think I would get the same feeling off of a regular deck of cards, of playing cards, that I do off of tarot, because the pictures really help make my brain think about the images that I draw from when I'm telling someone what's going on.
Yeah.
So, tarot decks in occult usage. Let's get into when it went from being a game to being actual present day or fortune telling that people were actually doing. And I'm sure that the church had something to say about that.
Oh, yeah. The church usually does. But yeah, in the late 1700s, they started using, there was a misplaced belief that the cards were derived from the Book of Thoth.
Really?
Yeah. Like Egyptian roots and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been because there was some artwork that looked similar to Egyptian art and stuff, and it was about the same time that people were discovering different cultures, and it's so easy to get disinformation.
Oh yeah.
Especially when religion gets thrown into it, because the more and more people got into them, they were looking into them for divination purposes or occult purposes. The major religions would try to blame it on other cultures because they're not like us, and they're evil, and
supposedly, they demonize things.
Yeah, they get demonized. Mr. Crowley.
Yes, good old Alistair. He devised the Thoth deck.
Yeah.
Along with Lady Frida Harris.
Yeah. And it was also during the early 18 to mid 1800s when they started using it. They became primarily occult.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't playing cards anymore. The evolution happened, and they were merely for divination or occult purposes. A lot of people believe that they were evil, or they weren't allowed in certain areas, and
they were seen as tools of the devil, right?
Yeah.
They have to throw that devil in there every time they
Yeah.
find something different that is new. It seems like the devil gets thrown and painted on it for some reason.
Yeah, it wasn't really that was new. It was just that
the way they were being
used. People don't
understand
it. It's yeah.
Oh, okay. It's interesting though that some aspects of the tarot are symbolic of the Holy Kabbalah as well, because in my class where I was learning about becoming a priestess, we went over the tarot, and the tarot can be superimposed over the tree of Kabbalah, and it fits. You know, and interesting because the Kabbalah is really old, and I know they didn't happen at the same time, but they fit so nicely inside of the tree of life that it's amazing. But in any way, the tarot is what it is. It is a fantastic tool. I don't believe that there's magic in the cards themselves. I believe the magic actually comes from the intent of the reader, and the ability to read the cards is something that is both learned and innate in some people, because some people can look at the pictures and just come up with the right meanings. Now, personally, I can do that, but I prefer to work with the book that has all the meanings for the cards laid out before me, because I have a particular type of attention deficit disorder in which it's hard for me to remember much of what the cards portray. So I always go from the book. You can even call it book divination. I will lay out the cards, but I will look at the book. And some I've been able to all but memorize the meanings to, but many of them, it just slips me, especially when you get down to the pips. Oh boy. Because you've got the 22 major arcana, and then you've got 56 minor arcana.
Yeah.
That's a lot of different ideas. Yeah, it's hard to memorize, and it's a lot easier for some people, I hear, to just go by the pictures. Now, your basic Rider-Waite-Smith cards, it seems everything is, just about all of the tarot cards that I have found are based off of Rider-Waite-Smith. And I call them the Rider-Waite-Smith because Smith was the artist that made the cards, and she was a woman. And when they named the cards, they dropped her name out of it. And my teacher told us this, and I was like, oh, well, that's a misnomer. We're going to call it the Rider-Waite deck again. It's always going to be the Rider-Waite-Smith or the Waite-Smith cards. But that's just a little aside to let people know why I call it that.
Yeah. And they came out in 1909, and they were some of the most popular ones.
The Rider-Waite-Smith card? Yeah. Most popular symbolic images, yeah.
Yeah. And most people will recognize the Rider-Waite-Smith version of the cards as tarot. I've had several different decks of tarot cards, but I was given a set by my grandmother, the Waite-Smith deck, and I hated the fact that I lost them. But that's. I always call them like the beginners.
The what?
When somebody's learning, it's like everybody should be given a deck of the Rider-Waite Smith cards as a beginner.
Oh, beginner cards.
Because,
it's a great beginning. Yeah, if you're going to be understanding the tarot, going directly to the Rider-Waite-Smith cards will definitely give you the general overall feel of what tarot kind of is. But we also have to take into consideration that tarot cards have gone through different permutations over the ages, and now we've got angel cards and cat cards and
Oh, yeah.
Dianic cards and all different kind of cards that are just a little bit different, but
Yeah.
most of them take from Rider-Waite-Smith. But some are completely different. Like,
Yeah.
I think the Thoth cards that I've seen are very, very different. And there's so many different kinds of, and they're all called tarot cards, which is odd to me because some of them are so far away from the original Rider-Waite-Smith cards that I can't recognize them as tarot cards. But that's how people use them, and I guess the images, they speak to people, and I guess that's all that's really important is what do the images speak to you when you're doing a divination or you're playing a game or whatever it is you're doing with them. The images have to speak to you.
Yeah, I only have one set right now. It's the ones you gave me. They're Celtic in base. I forget what exactly the name of the style is, but I used to have dragon ones. They were pretty. They were beautiful, but I never used them. I don't know. It was something about, I was stuck on the deck that my grandma left me.
So you really need a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, don't you?
It's, I've been thinking about it. But
Are you of the mind that tarot cards are supposed to come to you as a gift, or are you able to go out and purchase your own?
I will go out and buy some of my own, but the ones that I actually use, I like as a gift. I use the ones that you gave me. But if I go out and buy, I don't know. I'm one of those that I have to bond with them.
Oh, you bond better with a gift.
Yeah, because it has some of your energy or some of your spirit with it.
Oh, that's very sweet. I never thought of it that way.
I don't know. It's hard to bond with something you get from Amazon.
Maybe for some people. I never was of the mind that someone had to gift me tarot cards. My first set of tarot cards were the Robin Wood tarot deck, and I was in her coven. That was the first coven that I was a part of.
Yeah.
And she was selling the cards because she had just gotten her contract or whatever with Llewellyn, and she had a bunch of them. And I was like, I got to pay for these cards. Because it's not like she was going to give them free. I mean, this was the way she was making her money. So I paid for the cards. I bought my own deck. I still have that deck. I still use that deck. And oddly enough, when I use the deck, I get a few reactions from people when I do fortune telling with the cards. I call it divination because oftentimes I'm just telling what's going on in their life right now. And that is scary enough for some people, for a complete stranger to sit down and tell them what's going on in their life. I get everything from hysterical laughter to tears, and just wide open stares like, how do you know this about me? And I'll be like, it's just something that comes to me when I'm reading the book, looking at the meanings and everything. It's like the letters come up off the page and tell me which ones to pay attention to. And those are the ones that I speak. And those are the ones that make people think, oh my God, how does she know this? And other people could do that without the book. And I think that's fantastic. But I don't think that it negates the seriousness of the reading if the reader has to use a book. Because everyone's different. I've got a pretty severe case of ADD, and it affects me in lots of different ways, and that's just one of the ways. But oddly enough, because
it depends on how much practice you have with them.
I've been doing this for years, honey. I can't remember everything.
Wow.
I'm going on 60, and I can't remember everything yet. But it's true. I don't read them very often. I don't even read them every week. Shame on me. But I imagine if I did read them more, I might take on more and have less looking at the book. But it's like math for me. if I don't use it, I lose it. And I don't do it often enough to build on it as much as I would like to. And I think in 2021, I'm going to make some changes because we're going to be doing something a little bit different with It Makes You Think every other week. This is just the beginning of the history of the Arcanum. Every other week, we're going to be dipping into 2 more cards out of the Major Arcanum. Today, we'll be discussing the Fool and the Magician. And we'll be discussing what those cards have meant to us.
I play the Fool quite often.
I think we all have, hon. We all have played the Fool.
It's not the same Fool.
Yeah. There's a song about that. Everybody plays the Fool? Yeah. Everybody does, believe me. But oddly enough, everyone also plays the Magician in their own lives.
Yes,
and they turn ideas into action. And that's the mainstay of the Magician's card. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Right now, we're still looking over the history. Now, the 22 Major Arcanum came first. But then came the 56 Minor Arcanum, which included the court cards, King, Queen, Page, and Jack, and the pip cards, everything from 10 to Ace.
Page was the same as a Jack.
Yeah, Page and...
Ace.
Wait, which one am I getting confused? King, Queen, Page...
And Ace.
And Ace? That seems screwy to me.
Ace was... You can never...
Ace correlated to the Fool. Okay, we're going to have to take a look at that because there are different interpretations. This is true.
Yeah, that's true. The Fool. There's only one Fool. There's
That's
not
true.
one in every deck or
No. Every pip. No.
Every pip. No. But yeah, there's an ace in every pip.
Yeah, there is.
But it could be high or it could be 1.
That is true.
And if you played poker, ace is high, ace is low, and that's where they derive the playing cards from. But yeah, that's the Page translated into the Jack.
Okay, King, Queen, Page, and Jack. All right. So,
but yeah, it was in like the Victorian age, the 1800s and stuff. People, I guess you could say the modern day or the everyday people became more interested in the occult. It became more and more popular with all the, I guess you could say, the British. They had a lot more troubles with trying to explain the world around them. The mental illnesses that were floating around, they had no idea how to deal with a lot of them. There was a lot of experimentation during this time. The physicians were performing lots of weird experiments. They were dealing with all kinds of diseases and, syphilis, dementia. They had very little explanations for things, so people were digging out for things to tell them what's going on or why is this that way. And religion didn't have all the answers.
No.
And a lot of people turned to the occult, the Ouija boards, the tarot cards.
Oh, don't get me started on the Ouija boards. Oh my gosh. Those are scary things.
That's
in my
a
opinion.
Weird subject altogether, but
it is.
People and it was another wave of occultism because people were trying to explore, and it wasn't just the higher ups. It was common everyday man. They might not have spoke on it very much. They might have tried to keep it hidden away and do secret seances and secret occult meetings, and because it was still considered shameful by by the church, and it didn't matter what kind of church. It was most Christianity shamed upon it, shunned it. But and there was a lot of interest in the tarot at that time, and they gradually brought it over to Americas, and it researched again back at we got hit really hard with the it sounds bad. We got hit really hard with the church, the Bible, and everything in the U.S. until about the 60s and 70s. People started stretching out again for alternative medicine, alternative lifestyles, because the regular stuff wasn't working for everybody. And
there
the
was
younger generations were
there was like an explosion of metaphysical curiosity right after the 50s. Yeah.
Especially during the 60s and
70s. I grew up during the 70s. I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in the 70s, I had an aunt that was teaching me palmistry, palm reading.
Oh. Okay.
I was all of about 9, 10, 11 years old, and she was teaching me palmistry. And my parents, when they would go to Canton, Ohio to visit relatives, they would leave me with her. Aunt Betsy. Oh. Wonderful Aunt Betsy. She would tell me about my dreams. She'd ask me about my dreams, and she'd interpret them, and she'd ask me about different things, and I would give her my thoughts on things, and she'd teach me all that. I think she was the witch in the family. I really do.
Yeah.
Because she was all into the metaphysical stuff. Yeah. She never brought out tarot cards or anything, but we sat and talked over tea for a long time, and I was never bored. I was never bored.
Yeah, and the 60s and 70s when astrology blew up too. Everybody was looking to the stars, and one of the pickup lines, asking women what their sign was, and they were looking a lot of different things. And being a child of somebody that grew up in the 70s, I have always had a much more open-ended idea of, there wasn't as much shunning, especially with my dad's side of the family. But my dad's mom was more or less, you consider a witch. So it wasn't as much, hush, hush, be quiet, hide, and,
you could talk openly about it.
Yeah, they would. I had a couple aunts that were open about, practicing and stuff, and it wasn't as demonized, I guess. But my mother's side, they were hardcore Christians, so.
Yeah. How did they ever get together? I don't know. That's another story all into itself.
I don't know. It's completely different backgrounds. It was crazy.
Yeah. You sound very lucky to have that background because it got you an early start on metaphysics. Yeah,
it was weird because I remember stumbling upon my grandma's cards. I don't know why it is. It seems like so many people that practice the tarot, they keep them in. She had a Crown Royal bag with her cards.
Oh yeah, Crown Royal bag with the tarot cards in them. I've seen that so many times. I'm like, what are all these drinkers doing with all these tarot cards? What is the connection?
And every gamer has a Crown Royal bag full of dice, too.
Yeah, the role-playing gamers, they do, too. I'm like, who's drinking up all this whiskey?
I did. I will.
I don't. I can't handle whiskey. I'm allergic to the tannins and things.
Yeah.
But I would love, for anybody who wants to send me a Crown Royal bag, I would love to have one, just because I don't feel like
they have been reused and repurposed for so many things.
I just don't feel like I'm taken seriously as a tarot reader because I don't have a Crown Royal bag. I need one. No, I am taking it seriously. I'm just being silly. Being silly. I would still like to have one of those bags, but I'm not paying for a bottle of Crown Royal. I'm not going to drink.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think maybe if we get to the cards now,
okay.
If we could go back to
the
Fool card. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Fool card, and you could talk about the Magician card.
Okay.
So if we can jump back to the Fool card, so I have one to look at.
Yeah.
There we go. So the Fool, the meaning. It says here, the Fool is a very powerful card in the tarot deck, usually representing a new beginning and consequently an end to something in your old life. Boy, ain't that the truth. The Fool's position in your spread reveals which aspects of your life may be subject to change. The Fool portends important decisions ahead which may not be easy to make and involve an element of risk for you. That's true. Approach the changes with optimism and care to gain the most positive outcome. So, for me, I was like the Fool card when I first got introduced to Wicca. Because, like the Fool, I was just going around blithely taking in all this information about the occult and metaphysics and just anything and everything I could get my hands on, but I couldn't really say what I should believe or what I shouldn't believe, what I could really put my faith in. I was just sort of waltzing around in books full of the occult, just picking up whatever looked pretty, and sometimes whatever had a weird feel to it, it would call to me. I remember this one time I picked up a necromancy book, and looking at it on the shelf, I had this weird revolting feeling, and I was like, whoa, what is that feeling? I've got to pick this up and see, which is really strange. So I picked up this book, and it just felt so strange to me. I bought it and took it home, and I read the whole thing and couldn't understand a thing in it. But I remember the pictures and the drawings and everything. And I was like, this seems really cool. I wonder what it means. But I just did not have the head to understand it. So I picked up all of this information. And I was working at an insurance company. And like the little white dog in the picture of the Fool nipping at my heels, they kind of saw that I was just floundering in all this information. But they saw the type of information that I was interested in. And so they suggested to me that I go to a chocolate ritual, which was being given by a coven. And my ears perked up, and I was like, wow, real people? I can talk to real people and chocolate? Well, yeah, they had me at chocolate, but but the idea that I could talk to people about the stuff that I'd been reading just really opened my eyes and ears. And I was like, yes, where, who, when, how? And so I had to go to this place alone at night. It was nightfall. And that, for a woman in Detroit on her own, not telling anyone where I was going, there's your element of risk. And so I went to this house. It was just inside Dearborn. And I knocked on the door, and I was scared. I was like, I've never done anything like this before in my life. And the woman opened the door, and it was Robin Wood. And she had the biggest smile on her face. I was put at ease immediately. And I stepped over that threshold into a new path for my life. And I did meet it with optimism and care. And I definitely got the most positive outcome of that entire situation because I became a coven member about a year and a day later. Yep. Yeah. And that was my beginnings on the metaphysical path that I'm on. That that leads me to where I am today. All the places I've gone to, all the people I've met. Robin Wood really gave me a fantastic foundation as to how to take in information and figure out, okay, what do I want to take in? What do I want to not? And I bought her tarot deck, and this was really strange. We went to a convention, and I just bought the tarot deck, and she says, try to read it. And so this guy came up, and I read his tarot deck, and he was scared. He was so scared. He was like, How do you know that?
Wow.
I'm like, I don't know. It's just what the cards are telling me. At that point, I wasn't really looking out of the book, and it kind of scared me. Because
you were that good at it.
Yeah, he apparently I had a knack, and I think maybe the fact that I was sitting right next to Robin Wood while it was happening probably had something to do with it, because some of her probably rubbed off on me. But it was incredible.
Mojo.
Yeah, some of her mojo, and it rubbed off on me. And after that, it was like, I've really got to study this book. I've really got to study these cards and figure out, how did I do that? So it became something that I do and I enjoy, but at the same time, I have a whole lot of respect for, because I see it as a gift of sight that I didn't know that I had. So, for the Magician's card, tell us about your own experience and how you turned idea into action, how your ideal actually came into being. So we can get the Magician card up. There you go.
The Magician is generally associates with intelligence and skillful communicators. His presence in your spread indicates a level of self-confidence and drive, which allows you to translate ideas into actions. A practical card, the revelations it brings are best applied to pragmatic and physical aspects of your life, rather than
ephemeral.
What she said. Or theoretical.
Mm-hmm.
Your success in upcoming ventures or in politics or business will likely hinge upon your strength and will and determination. My story is a little different, I guess you could say. Magician falls closer to, it usually doesn't have as much to do with I guess you could say love lives or something of that nature.
Or the practicality of your life, for one.
Yeah, it was more of a life choice. I made a willful decision not to get into the habit of what I was doing before with my relationships, quote unquote. I had decided, I had my kids. I was set. I've been done with the foolish men. And it's not like you're full, the other foolish men.
Okay.
I was done with the games. I was done with all this. I didn't want any of that anymore.
Did you have an ideal in your mind of what you wanted?
I didn't really have in mind. I was just going to dedicate myself to my kids and be done with relationships. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to have fun on the side, and that was it. Keep it compartmentalized in a box and not let it permeate my whole world.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to think logically about something that is completely illogical sometimes. Because love is not a logical thing.
It's hard to put love in a box. You're right.
No, and I started talking to a guy, and I kept it in a box as much as possible, and he is sitting in the next room, so I'm going to hear it later. But I just wanted to keep everything. He's just for fun. It's not going to happen. It's, I'm not going to get attached to him. It's just going to be on occasion, weekends, whatever you want to call it. Booty
and
calls.
It became a very pragmatic portion of your life, though.
And then things happened.
Mm-hmm.
He turned out to be a lot more than what I expected.
He turned out to be great.
This is also part of where the intelligence comes in,
mm-hmm.
because the intelligence and the communications, we handle things a lot better than I have ever had known in pretty much any other relationship. I know better than any relationship I've been in, but I haven't seen another relationship like it.
Mm-hmm.
because we communicate about everything. We handle things not just on a logical point of view, but we do handle the emotions, but we don't argue. We don't fight. We might disagree. We handle things, and there's no yelling, screaming. Exes, I've been beaten. I've had relationships where everything just blown out of proportion. And with this, it's all handled like debates.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're feeling this way. We acknowledge each other's emotions and we try to fix things instead of blaming each other. And it's so weird. We're almost on 3 years, and it's just, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that this can happen.
You
And
drew
it
this to
happened
you.
me.
You drew this
Huh?
to you. It was you had the opposite before. So somewhere you had the ideal in your mind, what it would be, and you drew this from ideal into action, into your life. Just like a magician, you made it happen.
Yeah, and a lot of it, I believe, is that I stopped putting up with, I set some real boundaries. I stopped putting up with the thirsty guys. They're just out for nothing but
Yeah.
relations, and
And you got a really good thing. I'm here to tell you,
Yeah.
I've watched Jennifer with her boyfriend, and I've got nothing but good things to say about the both of them. They fit together like a hand in glove. They work together like the gears of a swish clock, and
a swish clock.
Swiss clock. The Swiss, they make really intricate clocks, and everything just sort of works really well. And when I see the two of you together, it's heartening. It really is. It's very heartening because it tells me that good things in the world can happen. And you made it happen. I watched you go through it all because you, like you said, there were things that you would accept and things that you would not accept. And you created your reality by putting up those boundaries. And he was just the perfect person to come in and work within those boundaries and be a positive person in your life, and you a positive person in his. And I think that's just wonderful. It's admirable. It's very witchy. How did you do that?
I don't know.
And that's kind of like the card of the magician. Sometimes we don't know how we do our magic. But we're reminded that we are the ones that make our lives. We are the ones through our intent, even unintentionally, but through our intent, we make our lives what it is. And that's what you did. You got exactly what you wanted and needed, even when you weren't asking for it.
Yeah. And we are the culmination of our decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And when I decided that I was no longer going to be with narcissistic people anymore, I don't want to play games and be stuck out in the cold and not knowing what's coming next. I just stopped putting up with the BS.
Yeah.
I wanted a playmate. Now I got a life partner.
It looks like it. Yeah, it really does look like it. But that's between you and him to decide. So I think we'll end It Makes You Think at this point and wrap it up and maybe have people think about the Fool card and the Magic card and how those two aspects fit into their lives like it fit into ours.
Mm-hmm.
And next week we'll probably have the kitchen group again with something interesting. But the 2 weeks after that, we will return to the major arcanum, regardless of what topic we actually talk about. We're going to talk about the next two cards, which are, if you scroll down,
intermission music.
Intermission music. Da, 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 da.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Yeah, let's all go to the lobby. Oh, yeah.
Is that bad?
Okay.
The High Priestess.
The High Priestess
and the Empress.
And the Empress. And we will go over those meanings and how those cards have meant things in our lives. And I will go over the High Priestess, you think? And you can go over the Empress?
Yeah, I could
Okay.
be the Empress.
All right, and I will do the High Priestess.
You
Which
could
is
be
kind
the
of
High
funny
Priestess.
because I graduated from our program at PPT as a priestess, one of the priestesses at the temple.
You got
So, yeah.
practice at it.
I got a little practice at being priestess. Yeah, you could say so. All right, so we're going to wrap it up.
High princess.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not the high priestess. We don't actually have a high priestess. We have a priestess, priest and priestess type guild there. Nobody's above anyone else. We just have lots of different kinds of priests and priestesses there, depending on their faiths. But we can talk about that at another time. Right now, we're going to say goodbye. So this is Cynthia Day saying goodbye for It Makes You Think for this week. And say goodbye, Fir.
Goodbye, Fir.
So goodbye, everybody. Have a great couple of weeks, and we will get back with you.
All righty.
All right. Bye-bye.
And now it's time for a conversation corner with the Gladstones.
Hi, this is Diana Gladstone.
Hi, this is Nancy Gladstone.
And welcome to our holiday conversation corner.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, my love, with the new year coming around, everybody's, at least in my Facebook groups, are starting to talk about their New Year's resolutions. And so, as witches, I wanted to ask the question, what's the difference between a New Year's resolution and a witch's intention?
I think a New Year's resolution is what you dream that you want for the next coming year in your physical self plane.
Okay.
I think. And an intention is something that you want to manifest into happening in the world around you, not so much something that you want to strive to work for, if that makes any sense to you.
Okay, I can see your point of view. For me, I've always thought of a New Year's resolution as kind of this high idealistic goal that you want to achieve or that you hope you will magically achieve. And an intention is something that you're putting your will towards working into existence, whether it be spiritual or physical. That when you're setting an intention, you know that this is something that's going to take some work to achieve. For me, too many times I see people set New Year's resolutions. They set them on New Year's Eve, and then I think they think when the ball drops, they magically start to happen, that the universe just starts granting them that, because it seems like by February 1st, everyone has forgotten what their New Year's resolution was.
Yeah, like how many people say, oh, I'm actually going to go to the gym and work out, or I'm going to lose weight.
And my God, do the diet foods and the gym memberships love that people set that, because January is their boom month.
Yep. Or I'm going to quit smoking, or I'm going to quit drinking, or whatever habit they want to break. That seems to be
Problemsome.
yes.
But the problem is they set that, and I think they quickly forget it, or they don't realize just how much work is involved in it.
Yes.
Whereas a witch setting their intention knows that this is something, it's not a set it once and forget it. This isn't like, I'm writing it down on a piece of paper, I'm setting it aside, and then when my intention magically happens, the paper will poof into a bright pink cloud of rainbow sparkles, and I'll know my magic worked. They know when you set an intention, you have to rededicate your will to it day after day after day until you bring it into fruition.
Yeah, it's like all the rituals you go to that give you a flower pot with a seed in it to make your, whatever.
To remind you that you have to tend to your intentions.
Yep, you can't just do it once and forget it. You have to have a plan.
Yep.
And the plan has many steps.
And it requires work. That's the other thing that people, I think, sometimes forget, even with magical intentions. Yes, magic happens, but magic happens through the force of us applying our own will. This isn't like Charmed or a genie in a lamp where you rub something once, you say the magic words, and then poof, it appears.
I wish.
If you have that ability to make things poof appear just because you said it, please contact the Gladstones. We have a money tree that we would really like your help on building.
Yes. And weight loss, we'd like to come off quicker than it is.
Yes. But, and I think that's the thing people forget about when they're trying to set their intentions or setting resolutions. I hope there's magic in watching that calendar change from 2020 to being 2021, because I really would like some positive energy in this world again.
I'm hoping this week, with all that's going on in the atmosphere and like being able to see the Jupiter and
Saturn cross on the solstice.
Yes.
I'm hoping
that it sends something out there. We're on a tangent, but that's okay.
Hey, if you're listening to us, and this is more than your first time listening to us, you realize we tangent often.
Yes.
This is why we call it a conversation corner and not a dedicated thinking spot.
Yes.
Because, like in real life, my wife and I go off on tangents often.
Yes. We call it squirrel syndrome.
Yes, we both have it.
Yes.
But it is. I have hope for 2021. I have hope because there is changes coming. We have a vaccine now. We just have to get everybody, as many people who can take it, to take it, so that it becomes much harder for this damn thing to be spread. So those of us who can't take it for medical reasons don't have to worry about catching the virus as much, so that we can start to gather together again in person. Because while we love sharing our thoughts and ideas with you guys online and via this podcast, I'd really, 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 no offense, my lovely, love to have a conversation with more than just my wife.
Me too. In person.
In person.
Not via Zoom.
Not via Zoom.
Yep.
I would love to do magic again with my fellow witches, where I can feel their energy, not just perform in front of a cell phone camera, to broadcast it across the interwebs.
Yes. And speaking of that, join us
tomorrow,
Monday,
the 21st, at, I think we're broadcasting it at 7?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
At 7 p.m. for the solstice ritual, which means we better hope we get this podcast up and edited and on before 7 o'clock. Otherwise, we hoped you joined us at 7 p.m. And if you were getting this after we did the ritual, please go look for it. It will be on Facebook Live on Pagan Pathway Temple page.
Yes.
On the Facebooky. But okay. So again, yet another tangent. Tomorrow is Yule, the darkest night of the year. Time when we enter true introspection for the final time, and after that the light begins to grow again. We start to come out of the darkness. Unfortunately, one thing I've never understood is why is it when the days start getting lighter, it's the days that are getting colder. You'd think that the darkest night of the year would be the coldest night of the year. Instead, we now have warm temperatures, and the lovely snow that we got for us to have a white Christmas has now all melted away, and we have green grass showing. So we're going to have to wait for yet another snowstorm to come by and hopefully give us a white Christmas. But for those poor people who work on roads, clearing the roads, I would really like it to happen on like the 23rd or 24th, so that they don't have to be out shoveling snow or plowing roads Christmas morning, so that they can stay home and see their families. I just want it to fall on the 23rd and stay to the 26th. If it melts all on the 26th, I'm perfectly happy with that.
And we only need just a light snow cover, not even enough to even bother shoveling.
Yeah, nice little 1 inch. That's all I'm asking for.
Yes.
I don't want New York and getting a foot at one time. No, thank you.
Okay, so what are some of your New Year's resolutions? Or are you going to make any New Year's resolutions?
So my resolutions, as well as my intentions, is learning to manage stress better.
And go back to better eating habits.
Yeah, I really don't think I should wait till New Year's to start doing that. I'm setting that intention now. Which doesn't help the fact that we baked chocolate chip cookies last night.
Well, they're almost gone, so...
Yeah, thanks, David Olaf.
Yes.
We went to bed with a full cookie jar. We woke up with a half a cookie jar.
Yep. And they were up till 4 a.m, so...
Somebody had munchies. But so my main thing is I want to, in 2021, handle stress better.
Oh, for a Gladstone update, I don't know if anyone realizes this, but my mom moved out and my brother moved in.
Yep. And the stress level increased.
See, sometimes when you manifest things or wish things into existence,
you don't always know the consequences that are going to come with it.
yes.
For the entire 2020, it has been our intention that we no longer live with her mom.
Yep.
And we, as good witches, caused that to happen. We did not realize the number of bleeping problems that were going to come along with having that happen.
Yes.
Like getting woken up almost daily with phone calls from mom going, there's something wrong with my apartment, or I need this, I can't find that.
Or the iPad's not working.
The iPad's not working. There's something wrong with my bank account. Somebody's stealing money. No, Mom, you paid a bill. No, I did not. Someone's stealing money. They changed the bank password. No, Mom, you're just typing it wrong. No, they didn't. Well, then why can I get in using the right password?
Yep.
So, apparently, when we said, and Mom was going to live separate from us, we should have added on the phrase, and be completely independent.
And happy.
And happy afterwards. Oops, our bad. Trust me, that's going into the 2021 spells.
Yep.
And what about you, my love? What are your intentions or resolutions for 2021?
To get back on the right eating habits and to actually make it to the gym or take an hour a day here and get my workouts in.
Okay, so those are all physical. Do you have any emotional or spiritual resolutions or intentions?
Make Mom happy and independent.
Good luck.
Hey, we got her out of the house.
Yep.
It only took a year, so we got another year to make this one happen.
All right, so all gods and goddesses listening who want to lend a hand with making a cranky 88-year-old Jewish woman happy, please come talk to us.
Yes.
All right, my love. I think
that's it.
That's it for today. I hope all our listeners, have a wonderful and blessed holiday season and a great and happy new year. Whatever holiday you choose to celebrate.
Or celebrated, because Hanukkah is all over already.
I know, we did our 8 days.
Yes.
But whatever you celebrated, however you chose to celebrate it, whether it was just hunkering down with the people you love in your household, Zoom phone calls, or Facebook Living with family across the country, or those brave and reckless souls who decided to venture out into the cold and travel to other places. Please, please, please be safe. Please do not bring Corona back with you.
Yep, please watch out for social distancing because other people do not.
And mask and washing of the hands.
Yes.
And hopefully we will see you all safe, hearty, and healthy in 2021.
Yep, blessed be.
Blessed be.
You have just listened to a Pagan Pathways Temple Broadcast Network recording. Pagan Pathways Temple is a 501(c) not-for-profit organization out of beautiful Madison Heights, Michigan. We offer classes, community outreach, event space, and a library available to our members. To find out more or to become a member, please go to paganpathwaystemple.org. Pagan Pathways Temple, growing in the old ways where all paths are open.